Hello everyone. This is one more problem that I'm going to solve, and sorry if the view is not clear. I'll just hold it like this so that you can pause and then get the data. So this is a problem where, similar to what we did in the last video in this particular playlist on accounting cycle. So the question that is asked is prepare closing entries. So using page J15. So just we need to create the closing entries. So already I explained in my last video, that is about Jeju Consultants, how to create the closing entries. So this is just a review. Okay, so how to make the closing entries? First between revenues and income summary, then expenses and income summary, then between income summary and retained earnings, and finally between dividends and retained earnings. So if you do this, then all these four things will become zero and only the final retained earnings will be there. Okay, so and you have to do this for revenues, expenses and dividends. Red color, revenue, expenses and dividends. Okay, so let's see. First let's mark the revenues, expenses and dividends, which are also called temporary accounts. Okay, so if you see, these are all assets and liabilities. So dividend, here we got dividend, revenue R, one more revenue R, expense, expense, expense. So I have three expenses, two revenues and one dividend. Okay, so how to make closing entries? So first, again refer to this diagram. First, closing entry between revenues and income summary. Okay, so let's do that. So Huang Automotive, 31st July 2020, and closing entries in journal. Okay, so you know the format is date, account, reference, debit and credit. So now in this case the reference I am not using, but anyway, so come back to this. Okay, so first what is the first transaction? Again I am referring to this revenues and income summary. Okay, so now if you look at revenues, service revenue, rent revenue, both the revenues are in the credit side. To cancel this credit I need a debit side. Okay, so I will make a two debit entries to cancel these two. Okay, so service revenue, rent revenue. So what I will write here is service revenue and rent revenue. This is a what you call compound entry or complex entry. So both are in the debit side. So 64,000 and 6,500. So these two revenues are there. And for the credit side, I'll go for income summary. So this income summary is a temporary account to do that, and 31st July is the date. So now what is the addition of these two? So it will be 500 here and then 70,500. Okay. So this is the entry for to take care of these two. Now I need to take care of the expenses. So all the three expenses are under the debit side. To cancel the debit side, I need entries in the credit side so that the expenses will cancel out. Okay. So so that is the second one I am doing here. If you look at the second one, now the entries are between expenses and income summary. Okay. So I will keep one line empty here. So this first line will be for income summary. So here one debit entry will come. I don't know what it is, but meanwhile I can write all the expense entries. That is depreciation expense. Okay, and then I have salaries and wages expense, and I have utilities expense. So these three expenses are, now the expenses are recorded under the debit side. So to cancel them I need to record under the credit side. So it will be 8,000, 55,700 and 14,900. So what is the total of this? So 8,000 plus 55,700 plus 8,000 plus 55,700 plus 14,900. So 78,600. So here I am getting 78,600. Now, if you see, these two things are over. Okay, so these two entries are over. Now this income summary has to be taken to the retained earnings. So income summary has to be taken to the retained earnings. So how to cancel the income summary? Okay, so how to cancel income summary? So right now income summary having a, so I'll write it here, income summary as a T account. Okay. It has a credit balance of 70,500 and it has a debit balance of 78,600. So what is the net balance? So net balance is 78,600 minus 70,500. So 8,100 of net balance is there, that is under the debit. So because this balance is under the debit, in order to cancel this out, I need one more entry on the credit side. Okay, so therefore on 31st July, the first line I'll give it for retained earnings, and under the credit side I'll write income summary, and income summary will be credited by 8,100. So now because of this credit entry, I'll get one more 8,100 here and final balance will become 0. Okay. So therefore the retained earnings will have a debit balance of 8,100 here. Okay, so that is up to here. Now you see here, so we got revenues going to 0, we got expenses going to 0, we got income summary going to 0. Now dividend has to go to 0. Okay, so between these two, so dividends and retained earnings. How the dividends will become 0? So look at the dividends here. Okay, so the dividend is having a debit balance of 16,000. So a credit balance of 16,000 will make it 0. Okay, so I'll go for 31st July again, and then I'll write dividends, and I will make a credit balance of 16,000. So here I will say retained earnings because dividend has to be reconciled with the retained earnings. So 16,000 same will be under the debit balance. Okay. So now finally we have completed all the our transactions. So these expenses have become 0, dividend also has become 0. So now the question is, what is the net balance in the retained earnings? So you go to retained earnings and make a T account. What is the opening balance of retained earnings? So the opening balance of retained earning is 25,200. Okay, as that's a credit balance. So 25,200 is the opening balance of retained earnings. Now I have two entries. So this is one entry and this is one more entry under the retained earnings. Okay, so I will, and both of them are on the debit side. Okay, so 8,100 and 16,000. So now I need to calculate what is the balance in the retained earnings. So how do I calculate? So I'll take 25,000 on the, 25,200 minus 8,100 minus 16,000. So I am getting 1,100 as my credit balance. So this is the final credit balance of the retained earnings. So now that I calculated retained earning credit balance, so our final this thing is completed. Our dividends also become 0 and retained earnings we calculated. So now I can make a trial balance. So directly I am going for Huang Automobiles. Post closing trial balance. So here except this last entries, the remaining other entries will be same and only retained earnings will be different. So I'll just simply copy, I'll not do anything different. So I'll simply copy it from here. Okay. So cash will be 9840, accounts receivable will be 8780. This is all debit balance. Then accumulated depreciation of equipment, that will be, I'm sorry, equipment I missed, but anyway it doesn't matter. 7400 on the credit side, and equipment will be 15,900 on the debit side. So accounts payable, simply copy accounts payable 4220. Then unearned service revenue, USR, unearned service revenue, I'm sorry, unearned rent revenue, whatever it is, 1800. Then share capital ordinary, 20,000. Just copy. Retained earnings. Now retained earnings, this number is wrong. This number is old. The latest number that we have retained earnings is 1100. So that is my latest retained earnings number. So after that, dividends is 0, service revenue 0, rent revenue 0, expense 0, all these things are 0 balance. So no need to write them. So now I can find the totals and then we'll be completing this. So 9840 plus 8780 plus 15900. So 34,520 is the debit balance. Let's look at the credit balance. 7400 plus 4220 plus 1800 plus 20,000 plus 1100. So 34520. Okay, so exactly same. So I think it is NT dollar. So both values are exactly same. So this is the Huang Automobiles post closing trial balance as of 31st July 2020. Okay. So this completes two problems. So one in this video and one in the earlier video on how to create post closing trial balance. Okay. I hope you learned this procedure. See, the entire thing rests in doing this procedure. First you make revenue 0, then make expenses 0, then make income summary 0, then make dividend 0, and finally recalculate the retained earnings through T accounts. Okay, so this is the process of closing entries. If you like this video, please press like button. See you in the next video. Thank you.